This is the second in our series of videos trying to give a brief overview and tutorial on how to use Renweb's new online web-based tool called Renweb1. So again, to get to Renweb1, all you need to do is go from any browser. It could be Chrome, it could be Safari, it can be a Chromebook. Really, any modern browser supports the full functionality of Renweb1 with one tiny caveat that I'll get to later on. But most browsers work really well, and you just got to go to login.renweb.com. and that will land you on this screen. Make sure you confirm your credentials, but they do autosave, at least in Safari. They save really well. And once you click login, you're going to go back to that general screen for Renweb1, which looks really empty, but gives you all of your different menu options underneath this hamburger menu on the left-hand bar. So I'm checking to verify I am in the junior high school, and I am in the correct year. All that looks great. If I needed to change my password, I could do that here. But for now, I'm going to jump into this hamburger menu. And for this video, we are going to spend all of our time just looking at the basic layout and navigation for the new Renweb1 feature called My Classroom. And it really is a huge shift in a couple ways from what Renweb has tried to do in the past with how teachers use Renweb. So this is a really different direction that Renweb's going, and I really appreciate it. I think it's a great step in the right direction. I am going to say there's at least one major thing I hope they can build into this feature, but for just starting out, it's been launched for about almost 2 weeks now. It's really a great tool. It's very, very efficient. So I'm going to jump into my classroom. And right off the bat, what you'll see is it looks like nothing you've ever seen in Renweb. We've never seen our classes organized like this. Typically in Faculty Web or in another tool, we would just see a list of classes. So this is like a unique grid-looking system. I have created some different color-coded labels on these different classes. One of the cool things about these labels is I can color code them by section, by semester, by grade level, by whatever I want, and these color coding labels are going to fill different menu bar items across the entire class. So it's not just like I see this purple color for advanced film right now. I'm going to see that purple color on my menu headers, and it'll really kind of help me even just subconsciously know that I'm in advanced film messing with those grades. I think that's a pretty original idea, and it actually helps the interface look a little bit better and not as ugly. So that's nice. But I do see just my general classes that I'm enrolled to teach first semester for this coming school year for 2015-16. If I needed to see every single class that I have access to, which I have access to a lot of classes because of my security permissions, if I unchecked my classes, I then see a huge grid of basically every single class that is scheduled to start. There's obviously way more classes than we have than just this, but you notice I see mine color coded, none of the other ones are. I see the teacher. If I needed to jump in and help a teacher with something, I could go to the screen, but for everything I'm doing on a daily basis, I'm just going to look at the My Classes screen and see what's going on. So the other thing I wanted to point out is it does have the date, and it's always going to, at least every time I've checked, it's going to put you in that current day. So if I was on the first day of school and it said August 17th and I just wanted to take roll, it would be perfectly ready to go. I would jump into that class, take roll, and I will show you what that would look like. But because we don't have school on August 4th, I'm going to have to show you how to change the date. And obviously you could just assume that it would save you one step if the date was already set and you were dealing with the current day. So let's go ahead and deal with my fourth period digital video production class. And again, I'm just getting this message saying there's no school on this day. So I'm going to go to the first day of school on August 17th. And I see a really sparse but clean looking attendance screen. To say like, hey, I'm actually using this on my laptop and I want to take roll using Renweb1 first day of school. My total advice would be just to go underneath this menu here. It's these three vertical dots, and I would say fill present. And then after I've filled present, I could go in and modify as needed and say, Jaden was tardy, but it was excused, or they were absent for the day. And I could go through and modify that to my heart's content. I will tell you there is no easy way to clear out every single entry in Renweb1 if you accidentally enter for a whole class. That does exist in the Renweb HD iPad app, and I think still the iPad app is the fastest way to take attendance, even to enter in some grades, not every grade, but some grades are really efficient in the iPad app. But if you don't want to use the iPad to take attendance and you feel like you want to use a laptop, this is much more efficient than Faculty Web ever was specifically for attendance. But one thing that I wanted to point out, notice my color changed up here, and then notice I have on my left-hand bar a drop-down menu that shows me all my classes. I still see my color-coded dot, but without having to go anywhere else. If I'm dealing with fourth period and I'm stuck in the attendance screen and I'm done teaching and now I'm ready to jump into sixth period, if I jump into sixth period, it saved my date. It takes me right to the attendance screen, like it's context sensitive. It knows like, hey, you were just in attendance. I'm going to put you back in attendance, and I can now enter in attendance for sixth period. So all I have to do is jump around throughout my day and say like, okay, it will know where you were and will try as best it can to take you to that same screen on a different class if you use this drop-down menu on the left-hand bar to just say, I want to go work in a different class. And that is the basic idea of how you take attendance in Renweb. Another thing I'm going to point out, I'm trying as much as I can not to get too far into the weeds and waste your time. I just want to make this an overview video, is here you have almost in every single screen for Renweb 1, underneath that 3-dot menu, you have reports at the bottom of it. And reports are really powerful sometimes. There are times where this basic screen, this basic grid is not enough information for what you're trying to look at. And one of the more clever features of Renweb 1 is they always have this option to run a report, and the reports that it will let you run change based on what screen you're in. So because I'm in attendance and I choose to run a report, it's going to give me different options of reports that I could want to run because of that. So all of these report options are very attendance driven. If I'm in a gradebook and I choose to run reports, all the reports options it's going to give me are going to be built around different gradebook type tasks, like show me missing assignments, show me this, show me that, and it will basically run a really fast spreadsheet of everything for that class. So if I wanted to print a seating chart or do a attendance class grid, I would say open, and it's generating the reports as long as my pop-up browser, looks like I broke something. I don't know what I did there. Really good example to choose for the demo. As long as I have, it's probably because I don't have attendance set in, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. As long as I don't have pop-ups being blocked on my browser, it will pop that report screen up. I'm always happy to show you guys how to enable plugins and how to not block pop-ups, but I really don't have time to show you all of those things today. But just know there is easy security settings for how to allow plugins and how to not block pop-ups, and that is important when you're using Renweb 1. Okay, now I'm back to the attendance screen, and I'm saying, hey, I want to actually deal with my gradebook. Well, I haven't put in any grades. I haven't even created my categories yet, so there's no information for my gradebook for Renweb yet. All of that will change pretty quick here, but there's just not right now. So when I'm looking at gradebook, it's completely empty. Under categories, it's completely empty, and there's no information. And I know you understand why that is, but I want to actually go through and show you, if you were just starting out and you wanted to get going in your gradebook, how you would set up some categories. And then I have another class that I've actually put some stuff into if you wanted to look at that. But underneath that three vertical dot menu, you see gradebook options. And this is a very similar in terms of what it allows you to do as any of the other Renwebs, but it is organized differently. So this should make sense if you read through these options. I'm not going to talk you through all of them. They really do make sense. We use mixed percentage most of the time at Christian High, and the semesters are perfect, decimals if you want them. All of that should be pretty intuitive. You do have some decisions to make about how you want it to treat your incompletes and all that, but that's all right there for you to do that. Now, down at the bottom is what I wanted to show you, which is how to create categories. And this is going to be a really handy feature for copying your gradebook setup to other classes, but you want to do that after you've actually gone through and customized your options. But to set up a new category, I really simply just click New, and I'm going to type in tests, and I will say exams and quizzes. even though I would never do that, but just for this. And then for weight, I'm going to go ahead and say this is 30% of the student's semester grade. I don't really need to mark semester 1 and semester 2 because this is just a semester-based class, but I can leave it. It's not going to mess anything up. And I want you to notice this. There is a save button down here in the lower right-hand corner. And if I click save, I now have that category set up in my gradebook. It does try to autosave, but I would really encourage you to just get in the habit of clicking save whenever you've done a decent amount of work and you're nervous about losing it. If I wanted to delete the category, I see that here. And then if I can I could show you, like I can actually click add new category and set up 4 categories at the same time. So now I have 4 and I can say like the second one is homework. And the weight for that is 15%. And then I have projects. And the weight for that is 40%. And then I have classwork. And the weight for that is 15%. So, whoops, I might want to clean up that 400. So now I've saved all of those categories at the same time. I hope. It looks like it did that. I'll go back and check because it's got an interesting message. I'm going to click that one more time. Oh, perfect. Says that everything was saved before. Okay, jump out of that option screen. And by just going back to my gradebook, I don't see anything entered here, but if I go to categories, I see the basic 4 categories that I just set up and a description if I typed one in. So for tests, so now I'm going to show you how to quickly create a simple test, a simple assignment. And the reason why I want to show you how to create a test is there's one really handy feature that did exist in Renweb, but it was kind of buried and I don't think we utilized it well. And I want to show you that feature. And then most of what I'm showing you would be the same as if you were creating a homework assignment or as if you were creating a project or anything like that. But there's one little unique difference for creating a test. And that's why I'm showing you that. So to add an assignment on every single category, once you're looking at that category screen, you just hit this plus key and give it a title, test 1. I'm going to give it a description and I have to change this date to saying I want it September 7th, and I want the due date to be a week later so that error message goes away or it will not properly save. So if you're trying to test this out before the semester or when we're not in school, just make sure you change those dates or it will not save. I'm going to publish the lesson plans. And then this is the one feature that I wanted to show you, mark as test. This will actually give this assignment a label that we can then query in Renweb. So we can run a report that says, tell me when all the tests are, or tell me when the test for this 9th grade student is. And we will be able to see like, oh, they've got tests, like 5 tests on the same day. And it basically is a minimalist testing calendar. So I definitely, because this is a test, want to mark this as a test, but keep in mind, I could mark a project as a test. I could mark a really huge, incredible quiz that really shouldn't be marked as a test, but it is in my class. I can mark that as a test. And that is just really going to call out that assignment as a very important assignment. So it's not only labeled that way in Parents Web, but it's also labeled that way so we can query it and see when that student has a lot of tests. Notice I now have a save button down here. And as soon as I click that, that assignment is inside of Renweb. If I wanted to delete it, I could click the trash can, but I'm done with that. I can jump out into my gradebook again. I'm now not in categories. I'm in my summary. If I went back into my test category, I would see test 1. To punch in some grades for this test, it is really intuitive. I click on the test and I see, okay, how many points out of 100 did each of these students earn? And I could just quickly say, oh, they earned a 95, they earned a 98, they earned a 94, they earned a 92. That didn't do so well, and Timmy did fine. As soon as I've done that, I'm hitting tab in between each of those entries, and it's dropping me to the next one really efficient, really quickly. And I hope that's something that looks really great, and it is. That is great. I have nothing negative to say about that. Here is where you're going to need to use right now reports, and I'm hoping Renweb will add this feature. If you remember in Faculty Web, or if you remember in Legacy Renweb, the gradebook screen did not organize based on assignment. It didn't give you this brief overview. If I wanted to look at Jake Downey and say like, hey, I need more information for Jake Downey than just this, I can click on his name and it will show me the category grades. And here's something that is really handy. If I want to look at an incomplete missing assignment for that student, I can run that report. But keep in mind, in the old Renweb, I had that huge grid that was all over the screen. When I was in a category, I would see all of my different assignments across the top and students across the bottom, and I can easily jump into 10 assignments for that one student and punch those in quickly. That is not the same. If I want to punch in 10 grades for one assignment, that is really efficient in Renweb1. If I want to punch in 10 grades for one student, I have to jump into each of those assignments right now. And I know that that is going to be inconvenient. We don't have a ton of students that turn in a lot of work at once, but we do have some students. And that is going to be a time where you're either going to jump in and out of assignments by category. So if I was in my testing category and they wouldn't have turned in more than one test, but you get that. I'm just using for an example. If I was in my homework screen and I had 10 assignments here, I have to jump into each of these assignments and punch in that kid's grade individually. I think Renweb will, I just can't tell you when, add an option to be able to see these categories like this and then to see students inside of the category. So, or excuse me, to see assignments or to see students. So what I would love to see is just an option to put in grades either by assignment like this, beautiful, or to put in grades by student, and I could see a grid and I could type them in, and that's something I'm talking to Renweb about. So, okay, this should make sense. You've created your categories, you know how to create an assignment, you know how to punch in a grade. All of that makes sense. Copying stuff over, I will show you on a later video if you need to transfer grades and things like that, how that is done. But I hope that is helpful. One thing I wanted to show you, again, under these menu options, you are always going to see show a list view. So I can see all of my tests listed out and not in a grid. If I want to set up my parameters for auto drop a grade, I can do that right there under this menu. But up here, I've got completely different options. This is a separate menu than this. So if I click on reports, again, I see context sensual reports. So reports that are made for my gradebook. I want to run a class roster. I want to run a gradebook hard copy. That's really helpful in Renweb1 because you actually see that grid of assignments the way that you don't see it in Renweb1 when it's blocking it by assignment. I see that same traditional spreadsheet type look of every single assignment's turned in. If I want to see a grid of my seating chart, all of that stuff is under reports. Gradebook assignment report. If I want to do this, I don't know how familiar or how much we've utilized those aliases, but Renweb does have a way to create aliases and numbers for students that basically allow you to print out gradebooks and post them around your classroom, and it's anonymized. It's hidden, so you have to know your 6-digit number, and so you assign the students a number, you tell them what their number is, and then you can print those out, and this is how you would go to print those out. And it is handy. I just don't know how much we actually use that. I'm going to cancel and not run any reports, but that is all right here under the report screen. And that is the basic overview of Gradebook. Now I'm in the summary of advanced film. If I need to go to the Gradebook for digital video production, just jump right into it, and I'm in summary for digital video production. It's not going to do that for my categories because I don't have my category set up, and even if I did, it still wouldn't work. But it's really efficient to just jump from Gradebook to Gradebook and see what's going on in a student's grade. Remind me to delete that F out of that student's grade. But here's all of my classes over here on the left-hand side. So that is the basic overview of Gradebook for Renweb. Communication, very similar to the communication we saw in my previous video, which I will link to in the description. That's an overview of Renweb1 for how to send big group emails. But this is obviously already set up to send to this class. So my digital video production class, 4th period, is already populated. I say I want to send it to every kid, and then I say I want to send it to student into the correspondence. I want to carbon copy Sandy, and I want to send it to myself, and it's good to go. I can send attachments. I can type in whatever I want to, and it is absolutely efficient. It's a really efficient tool. This is all coded in HTML5, and it works really, really well. So I like that, the new communication screen for classes in Renweb1. Lesson plans, I will show you if I go to September 7th, and then go to advanced film. I added an assignment that's due, and I set up a basic lesson plan, just an overview of what's going to be happening that day. It added that test that I created, say, to my lesson plan because I told it to publish. But let's say I wanted to modify not a lesson plan for that Monday, which is the day we're in, but I wanted to add a lesson plan for Tuesday. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. All I'm going to do is say, hey, click on that plus key and then say, this class will build into our lecture on focusing. Sorry, I can't see my keyboard, which is for me devastating. Okay. And it's auto-saved. There is nothing else to do. Just type it, and you can get out of it by clicking on something else, and it's done. If I wanted to do the same thing for Wednesday, click here, click on lesson plan, and add it for Wednesday. Same thing if you wanted to call out what homework assignments are going to be assigned for that day. If you wanted to upload documents, this goes directly to ParentsWeb. It is really handy. It's kind of the LMS side of Renweb, and it's really sparse. It doesn't do as much as like a Blackboard utility would do, but it's there. It exists. If you wanted to add some objectives, all of that makes sense in terms of your curriculum and what you're trying to do, but that is all under this drop-down menu, lesson plans, based on what class you're in. Lunch, we never touch lunch on the junior high school, and I don't think any of our elementary schools are utilizing that right now. Report card, we really are going to have a video about report card once we get close to populating our report card grades for the end of the semester. That is not essential right now, but just know this is where we're going to This is where we're going to go to load grades from Gradebook and to put in our final exam grades. That is all going to be done here, and we will have a video for that when it comes closer. Student screen, really cool, really handy. So if I needed to see information about a student, including behavior, parent-teacher conference, this is based on my class that I'm in, every student that I could want to look at. Now, I'm not going to show you the screen just because I would have to blur everything out, but it is, if I click on this, it's going to pull all of the student information here, and I can look at behavior or PT conference, and it's really fast. This is coded, again, in HTML5, so it's not requiring Silverlight, it's not requiring an application, and it is instant. It is really efficient. So this is a great utility. Please jump into students and begin to see what all is there. Web items, we don't utilize this, but this is a place where you can say like, hey, I want to upload my syllabus, and so it's published to ParentsWeb. Anything like that, this is where you go to do that. And there's lots of different ways that you could preview what's in ParentsWeb from Renweb1, but it will basically show you. There's nothing here right now because I'm not started school yet, but it will show you once school starts the resource documents I have for my different classes. It will show you everything about the classes. It's just not going to show me anything right now because it is impossible for me to change the date and look at it after my classes have started. So that's where that is. I think that is the basic overview for how you use the new Renweb teaching tool called Renweb Classroom. Faculty Web is still available. If you want to use it, it exists, and it is, I think, still an option if you wanted to punch in multiple grades for a student and you just wanted to see that grid view. You could go to Faculty Web and do that, or you can go to find a PC and do that on the classic Renweb. Those are still active. They are saying, and they even told me that they were talking about doing it this summer, but they are discontinuing Faculty Web, and eventually I think they want to get every single person using Renweb1. I just cannot in any way say with a matter of certainty when that is going to happen, when they're going to start shutting down Faculty Web and that type of process. But I know for right now, and I'm hoping for at least the next semester or year, Faculty Web still exists if that's what you're more comfortable with. But I really encourage you to play and explore in Renweb1 and see how you can utilize that to make using Renweb on any platform a lot faster. Thank you so much. Again, check the description below for the link to the Renweb1 overview video, and be checking back for future videos. Thanks.